Now you have a new film, Roll With It. It hits theaters on May 9th, 11th, and 13th. You play Bonnie Taylor. What can you tell us about Bonnie?
Bonnie is complex and needs to lose weight. That's what I decided after I saw myself on the screen. That's the number one issue with Bonnie.
Oh my gosh, you are too much.
It is so, the whole thing was such a labor of love. It started out years and years ago. My husband and I toyed with this script idea. And I was just bold enough, to pass it around, even when it wasn't ready. And he would say, "Don't show it to him; it's not ready." But and it started out. We wrote it that I was a Walmart greeter, and I had to win a karaoke contest because my house is falling in a sinkhole. And for some reason, every producer said that is just too expensive for your market, to film that. And so nobody really touched it much.
Was it the sinkhole? What was it? What was the thing that they felt was too expensive to do?
Filming a house slowly falling into the ground. And we wanted every scene where every day you come in and lay your keys down, they keep sliding it more and more and more. We had all these little funny, gadgets in there. But I remember this one producer who produced everything for Robin Williams because Robin and I share a manager. And he told me, he goes, your market, makes not very expensive films because that's the type of people that come and see him. And he was a little bit condescending. And I said, well, okay, I'll take my script somewhere else, And so years go by. In the meantime, my husband passes. And what's so funny is he wrote that Bonnie talks to her dead husband. And everybody thinks I'm crazy because I can see him and nobody else can see him. Well, they didn't put a person in that slot. I just go to the cemetery and talk to him because it was one more bill to have to, one more person to have to pay to be in the movie. I learned so much in this whole process. One thing I learned is never film a movie in your own hometown because for 4 years, everyone has said, when's that movie coming out? Because it passed on to different producers, and then somebody drops the ball, and then this company bought it, and then I just turned in a script and acted in it, and that's all I have to say. That's all the say I have. But this wonderful writer and director, Chris Dowling, he took it and revamped the script to have a little more of Chonda in it, but also he made it very filmable, and he's so smart, and his jokes gets right to it, and it was just a joy. It was wonderful to work with him. I feel like he's my son now, he just is a great, and he put up with my whining going, but it's hot today. Can we do it tomorrow?
Chris is a friend of mine, and he is a phenomenal writer and filmmaker.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, after it was all over, I just hugged him and go, I did not show much mercy and grace. I was like,
thanks for putting up with me.
Yes, I did. That's how I felt because I was like, this is just taking forever. I'm used to get off the bus, you do a 2.5-hour show, and you get back on the bus.
Well, I have to ask you because that's what, people know you for a lot of different things. Your stand-up, your comedy, what you do, right? That is
right.
But you also are an actor. You've been acting for a long time. You've been in lots of projects.
Yes.
Talk about your love for those two different things. Which do you love more and why? I'm just curious because some might not know about the acting.
Well, one thing about doing stand-up, and I've been doing this for 32 years, you have instant gratification or instant rejection, and I've had both, and so it's wonderful. And I remember the first time walking on a movie set, that's the dog, walking on a movie set and delivered my line, and it was like, was that good? Was that okay?
It's like, waiting for a reaction.
Yeah. And the director, like several times, if we say cut and we have to do it again, that means you messed up. But if we say cut and we move to the next scene, you did great. And I'm like, okay, but nobody laughed, nobody clapped. You just feel like it's just terrible. You have to really have some self-confidence to do movies, and so that was a big adjustment. But then this one, it was just kind of hard because part of me wants to do a great tribute to what David, the dream he had. And he was a great writer. And, and so I felt like I was doing this for the both of us a little bit, and my little hometown, was in it. And it was such a buzz of excitement, in my little town. But when it's all said and done, it really is about the director. It's about what he sees, what he wants to get out of it, how he thinks the scene needs to come down. And I had to learn sometimes to keep my mouth shut, which is very hard for a 60-year-old woman, that's had her way. But Chris Dowling, what grace. He's so smart. He's just so smart about it. And when it was all said and done and I saw it, he was right, and he did good. Some things I would have probably tried. I wanted to try some different lines differently, but we didn't have the budget for it. It's like, okay, that was fine. Move on.
The movie is expensive and it's hard. It's almost like a miracle. I always say this, to get to the end of a movie, right? When you put it together, because so much, it's an elaborate puzzle. So much goes into it. What are you hoping people take away from Roll With It when they watch it?
One, I hope they just have a fun night. And there's nothing wrong with that. A great reprieve. Lord knows right now in this world we can use it. But two, I hope they find surprising aspects of it. We actually had the moment to be able to stop and have a word of prayer about this one scene that was about the widow Bonnie talking to her son about dating again. And I know that that awkward moment with my adult son going, this is, how do you feel, if mom had a date? It hasn't happened yet, but I just, wonder. In 9 years, it hasn't really happened. But but you just want to, those conversations are interesting. And I wanted to pray over that. And that was what the privilege was, is the heart of the people around you are like, oh, yeah, let's stop and have a word of prayer. Sometimes it's not everyone is a believer on most movie sets I've ever been on, and so, but it was great to have that privilege and that ability and that a little bit of that moment of control of going, hey, this is really important to me that it comes off well. Those were things that were very tender. But like you said, in the Christian market, we don't have the dollars that mainstream, this is not an Mission Impossible, movie. I did my own stunts, but but it's a labor of love. What's great now, after movies like Jesus Revolution and how the box office speaks volumes to movie makers. And I always tell these folks when they're, don't roll your eyes and complain about, that didn't look really realistic. We don't have the budget for that. And Chris Dowling, this movie is amazing. And it's one of the largest budgets out there. And he did great. But I always go and support any Christian movie. Because then Hollywood, that speaks volumes to Hollywood.
And they'll make more. They'll make more. They'll let people make more. Exactly. Right. That's the battle, right? If you don't show up to these movies, we can complain all day long, but if we're not going to show up to support the movies, they're not going to make more of them.
Right. And why would they? Yeah. What kind of investment would that be for anybody? And so that's why, it sounds silly, and you don't want to make it all about money and that, but it's a business. And so listen to your local Christian radio station, listen to it, support them, go to your favorite Christian artist concerts and go and watch these clean faith-based movies, sign up for these, networks that are Christian based. That speaks volumes to the universe. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So total pivot on a question here, but I think people would love to know this. I would love to know it. How did you come into faith? What was your faith journey? I know it's like a loaded question, but I want to hear, because I think a lot
this morning when I got out of bed, it's always, I have a revolving door experience with the Lord,
51st dates.
I should have watched that last night. Yeah. Now, for me, and I make a joke about it, I grew up in a holiness denomination where I got saved 342 times, just every time, every time there was a good looking boy at the altar, I'd get saved, I found a cigarette butt in the woods when I was 12. I had to go home and get saved because I touched it, It was, that was my life with Christ. I don't know which of those times it took, but there was a very significant moment when I worked on Music Row in the country music industry, and I heard a lyric of a song that penetrated my heart and really convicted me to know there is a level of intimacy with the Lord I didn't have, and I wanted that, and so my faith became in the forefront of everything that I do, instead of I went to church Sunday, so I'm fine. I used to laugh and say my husband was Southern Baptist. He got saved once, and that ticks me off. But but it's true. I always say I don't know what your theology is, but that particular time on Music Row, I went in and told my boss I need to go home, and she said, "When are you coming back?" And I said, "I don't think I'm ever coming back." And
so
I
it was
left
a moment for you. It was like a moment that clicked for you.
It is.
Do you
I
remember the
knew.
lyric? Do you remember the lyric of the song?
Oh yeah, it was a song called "The Saving Kind," and a lady named Linda Bolton wrote it. It eventually got into the hands of a quartet, I think, and a guy named Brian Free recorded it. It is absolutely, the lyric was, "The love you're needing now is the saving kind." And I was a new married, young, had a little girl, and I realized the songs that she was learning was more from Sesame Street than it was from Sunday school. And I have been through a lot of tragedies in my life, a lot. But I will tell you, it was this reality of going, I will not, this marriage won't survive. My life will not survive. I kept getting so tempted to, fall off track. And I didn't want that yo-yo experience anymore. I wanted to commit to my life to Christ, commit my career to Christ. I needed a foundation. And I found that in the Bible, especially if you base your foundation of faith in feeling, it's going to fail you.
Well, that's culture right now. That's culture right now, though, right?
Yes,
I mean,
everything's about how you feel. My favorite joke I tell is, what people that don't know what they are, look in your britches. What do you see? That's what you are. Because right now, culture is flying by the seat of their pants about how you feel, who you feel like you want to love, who I feel like I want to be, because they're not in touch with the creator that created them like they are. So how do we help you feel good about you? Well, the best way to feel good is find that creator who created you and loves you and wants to help you feel better. But first you have to base your life on the fact. And the fact for me comes straight from the Word of God. It's not easy because that whole love your neighbor. Bleh.
Oh yeah, especially the annoying neighbors, right? I mean, but it's true though. We're called to love our enemies. My goodness,
Yes.
right? And it's so convicting. It's so difficult, and
people want to wash their hands of it and go, "Well, this is not true." And basically, it is true. We just don't want to live like that. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because if you hadn't had that moment with the lyric, or you hadn't have, really come into your faith in a way that was legitimate and real, do you think you would have had the career you had? Would you have stumbled into some other form of comedy?
I don't know. I'd probably be working Vegas more often. We'd be serving a 2-drink minimum at the beginning of every show,
It'd be a little different.
Yeah. It would be quite different. I think comedy, I was so in love with it, when I really finally linked into how powerful comedy can be. If you listen to some of your favorite comics out there, even in mainstream, it's a great cultural lesson of what's going on in the world. Now that they're trying to censor and cancel comics, I'm like, really? You're shooting yourself in the foot, because in 25 years, there'll be no reality of what was really going on in 2023. Because they're trying to censor what he can say. Well, that's crazy. First of all, there's free speech, and second of all, you're missing some great laughs. The world today is so crazy. It's not funny to everybody. I'm not funny to everybody. There's some things that other comics say that I don't think is that funny. There are things I think is hilarious, and the front row will go, "What?" But and that is the art of comedy. And it's a sweet gift. The Bible, it's old fashioned. And I can't tell you how many times in 32 years I've been introduced by a preacher who's really nervous about having me in his sanctuary. So he uses the verse, laughter doeth good like a medicine. I think if I have heard that a million times, but it is true. Jesus, God created every one of our emotions and allows us to use every one of them, even our anger. He says, be angry, but sin not. So he is a part of, everything that we do. All the arts was used at the beginning for worship and description of God. It's Satan took everything to make it ugly, and
my,
that's
my daughter asked me the other day, why did God create singing and music, right? And that's what I said to her. I was like, well, to honor him, to praise him and honor him.
right,
And she was asking about, because she's old enough to kind of know about lyrics and things and other songs.
right.
And people have taken it and it's been used for other things
Yes.
now. The enemy is using it for other things. And
yeah.
It's crazy. Well, you brought something up about cancel culture, essentially, right? And so basically, I mean,
Can you believe I haven't been canceled?
No, I can't. I mean,
I can't. I think probably I secretly have, but I would love to get canceled. I think it would be so cool and great publicity.
Well, it is. It does feel like there's a reaction to it, right? To your point, and it feels like now people kind of went along with it. Now they're tired of it, and people are pushing back when it happens. And most of the time, 80% of the time, if not more, it feels like it wasn't warranted. Like somebody just gave their opinion and somebody else didn't like it, right? That's dangerous.
Well, right now, everybody's busy canceling Bud Light or whatever it is, or maybe Budweiser or whatever. I mean, people have their breaking point. You remember a long time ago, Baptists would boycott Disney. You know what I mean? Well,
now everybody is. And now everybody is. So no.
Yeah, that's right. So now, look, they were ahead of the curve. It is. Everybody's going through that moment of. But the bottom line is, Billy, this is, and you and I both know this. More than your picketing, your dollar speaks much more.
Oh, yeah.
More than going down there and fussing about Bud. Don't buy any more Bud. That speaks volumes, and you'll see how quickly people will begin to backtrack. And it's back to the same thing. It's like, if you want more good, clean, faith-based movies, go use your dollar and support one. And so, absolutely. And then Hollywood sets up and goes, we should make more of those,
Well, and that brings us, I hope you're not canceled before May 9th. Well, maybe it would help. Maybe it would help. I don't know.
For Chris's sake. Chris Dowling's going, no, don't get canceled. Oh, no.
Just get past the 13th, because the film Roll With It hits May 9th, 11th, and 13th. Chonda, as always, it's so much fun talking to you. I really appreciate it today.
I appreciate you. The more I started researching after our first conversation, I was like, this guy's a really cool guy. I wish he had an older brother.
I'm an only child. I don't know. I can't help you there.
And it's my luck. Just my luck. That's right. People say, why are you slowing down? Why do you talk about retiring? I go, because my audience is 98% women. I will never meet a man on the road.
You are a national treasure, Chonda Pierce. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. You take care of yourself.